Welcome to Educate Us, a podcast and learning collective that explores the questions shaping education. Through conversations with educators, researchers, scholars, students, and community members, we examine the relationship between learning and lived experience. Together, we explore new possibilities for education and its role in the world around us. I am Dr. Tiffany Smith, educator, curriculum designer, researcher, founder, and host of Educate Us. Thank you for joining. Let's begin. Welcome to episode 6 of the Educate Us podcast. I'm calling this episode Agency, Voice, and Human Possibility. Over the past 2 episodes, we've explored how educators create the conditions for students to develop confidence, identity, and agency. This conversation continues that exploration. Joining me are Tamara Rodney, Dr. Melissa Joy Benton, and Dr. Edythe Weeks. Our relationships began as members of a community of scholars at Webster University, where our professional connections grew into lasting friendships. What begins as a conversation about student agency and classroom management in K-12 classrooms evolves into a discussion of real-world learning across K-12 and higher education. Along the way, we explore how teacher autonomy influences educators' ability to create meaningful real-world learning experiences for students. And we share examples of lessons we've designed to show what student agency looks like in practice. This episode was recorded around my dining room table where we gathered to share a meal for the first time in years. Rather than reorganize the conversation, we preserved it exactly as it unfolded, including the introductions, which come later in the episode. Welcome to our table.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
I am good.
Good. Good to see you.
Hey, look at you.
Oh my God. Thank you. Very cute.
I'm good. How about you?
All right. All right.
Hey, girl. Hey. Hey.
So playful.
Thank you. Is it okay if I
Salad? Yeah, please.
No, it's a water. Or I like the tea.
Warm water or hot water?
Hot water with the lemon is perfect.
I can't honestly say that Webster University binds me to you.
Right. That's true.
Because we didn't meet at Webster.
Yeah, we actually met
where
at.
did you guys meet?
Yeah, where did you guys
We
meet?
met at St. Louis Community College. Wildwood, yes. Now, Webster is where we became friendly.
Mm-hmm. Were you all both teaching at Wildwood?
St. Louis Community College,
Okay.
I kind of made her mad.
I think Webster cultivated, because I taught at St. Louis Community College, Forest Park, and the adjuncts there weren't, like, I don't maintain a relationship with people from Forest Park the way that I have from Webster.
Yeah.
So
I
I think
agree.
that's just me, though, so.
No, I'm the same way. Definitely.
I mean, the decision, okay, so Melissa had a student on the debate team who was missing my class to attend the debate tournament.
Right.
So that's why you were mad.
And the student wanted me to make exceptions for them so that they could have the freedom to be able to do this.
Right.
And I was an undergraduate student with a baby.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of discipline that required
Right.
for me to be able to show up to class, show up to my work, show up to my life, show up for him.
Mm-hmm.
At that stage in my teaching development, I wasn't trying to hear any excuses about why you can't, because what happens is that he had to figure out where in his schedule he was going to fit that work so he could meet that deadline versus it happening with ease.
Right.
And that's where I was. Now, what would I do today? Today, I probably would have gave him a break, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like the conflict that happens when you are dealing with these things overshadows the learning or the desire or the drive or the motivation that he would have to even try and learn the content in my class anymore, because now we have this thing.
Right.
And it's not just one debate tournament. Now he's got to figure that out around all of the debate tournaments.
True.
But Melissa was the debate tournament person that he was coming back to, saying, I have a teacher who's not willing to work with me.
Right.
That's how we met.
Right. Well, and then, even during that process, though, I respected where you were coming from, because at Webster University, we are taught to manage our deadlines with our professors and be on the team at the same time. But at the end of the day, your college commitments are priority.
They should be.
So the goal for me on that team was to teach students how they can do both. And what I was doing is, if they told me their classes, we would work either the debates or oral interpretation around their classes. Like, I can figure out how to make their classwork connect with debate. So then they're studying both things, they're getting both homeworks done, and they're going to do better in school. When I was on the speech and debate team, and it's still the same way, we had very high GPAs. Okay? Because a lot of our work connected to what we were doing in speech and debate. Because the idea between forensics is to elevate your education. It's not to, this is one thing and this is not. It's about, bringing the two together. So, for example, most of my speeches and plays that I did came from my classes. Like, I had to read a book in my women's studies class, and I just took that book and made it my prose. Okay? As a result, I won first place in the state and nation. So the thing is, that's the way it's supposed to work. And then when I was in a women's studies class, I had an A. Obviously, because I clearly knew the material, because I was winning with it. So I wanted that student to be able to do the same. So I was a new coach. It was my first year. So I'm trying to. It was my first year.
Dang.
It was my first year coaching.
You will never forget me.
Yes, it was my first year coaching and my second year teaching. Okay, so I was writing, the what is their class? The interdisciplinary class that you could write your own class for. I forget what it's called, but I wrote my own class to connect with the speech and debate team. So I was balancing and a divorce and my kids. So I was balancing a whole lot. Okay. So I didn't do a good job with communicating with that student and vetting with that student and seeing what their classes were.
Nobody does a good job.
Right. And so I know. And then when she said that, I was like, oh, and I was trying to see if I could talk to you about it, and you weren't having it. And then I was like, oh my gosh, let me be careful, because I'm going to lose the team in a minute, because if she goes back and complains, this is going to be it. So I was like, Robert, you need to get yourself together.
There you go. Tell his butt to get it together. Because let me tell you, at the University of Kansas, baby, there were no excuses. If you did not have your situation in order, the professors were not trying to hear, my son has chicken pox, I have to be out of school for the whole week.
But I think, to your point, things have changed, though.
Yeah, it's definitely changed.
That was a different time. Well, whether you think it's good or bad, now, I'm not ascribing value. I'm just saying things have changed, because those same professors today, even at University of Kansas,
still think that we need that the newest generation is a bit lacking when it comes to self-discipline, time management, and all the things that it requires to actually participate in anything extra outside the classroom. However, I'm a lot more sensitive to our mental health and what we are dealing with in our life, and it creates a sense of what I've noticed since I've switched is that students actually give me more when I give them something than if I adhere to this very strict kind of thing. Now, I mean, I do after maybe 2 or 3 times, then I'm letting them know, okay, it's getting up there, that kind of thing. And they respect it at that point because they've already had chances and, they understand. I give my students leadership rewards now. So anything they do, if they come to me and even ask me about a grade, in addition to that conversation that we have, I might throw them 100 leadership points for advocating for themselves and speaking on their own behalf. And those leadership points factor into their total grade. It's 50% of their attendance grade in the class. So, I began to teach them that so that because that's really what we want. We don't want to create people that are subservient to us. You know what I mean? Because that's what we don't want.
I think what it is we don't teach young people. What I found for myself, let me speak for myself. Professors wanted you to have all these abilities and skills.
Yeah.
Believing that someone else taught it to you.
Amen. You're right.
And I'm like, no one ever taught me this.
If you did, you wouldn't be in that class.
Or I wouldn't be in this situation. Whatever situation I'm in.
You may not even ask.
Exactly. So I think that's the point for me. It's like whatever skills we believe students should have, I think it's on us to, if not teach, then foster the learning of those skills.
Now,
so it's funny, I'm laughing at you because I'm not laughing at you, but I'm laughing at your experience because I think middle school kids are crazy. But I think part of their craziness is they're going through puberty. Literally, I'm watching my son who's 11 become some kid I don't know. And I'm like, I think they're both going through puberty. And I think I recognize it now because I feel like what the science and the time is telling us is that it happens sooner than we thought.
Yeah.
So middle school, I'm like, I don't want to be, there's too much hormones. There's too much figuring out. And I've never believed in middle school. I always felt like middle school should be eviscerated in America. I feel
How do you think it should be, Tamara?
I think they should. I think you should keep them till 7th grade.
So 7th grade
separate them from, find a structure because they're doing it in New York now. In New York, you have schools within schools. And it's hard for me to wrap my head around it because when I went to school in New York, you were in your school. But my family members are like, no, it'll be like a floor and you can't go up to the 2nd floor. And I'm like, people don't go up there. And they're like, no. Once or twice you have the crazy kids who are testing the system. But for the most part, they get in trouble and then they figure it out. I'm like, and that's it. But again, conceptually, it's hard for me to process. But I think 7th grade should be part of the elementary school experience. And 8th grade should be added to the high school experience. Similarly, separate them, right? Separate them and the 9th graders.
Right.
And then put them in 10th grade. But I think middle school is a cesspool
now, I can't.
of hormonal changes. God bless the middle school people. Because I'm like, I don't know how y'all deal with it every day.
It took a lot for me to get to the end because my last 3 months was just about figuring out this classroom management thing. Now, I can't say I have it 100%, but I am feeling strong for next year. But there were a couple of things I did that really stood out is, first, I found out they were rage baiting me. For some reason, they thought I looked cute getting upset. So they were like, how much can we get Dr. Joy upset?
Yes, power.
And I didn't realize it until this one student was like, I said, what is wrong with you all? Why are y'all acting like this? I got candy, I got all this stuff, and y'all still like tripping on me. And the student said, they're rage baiting. And I was like, what is that? You don't know what rage baiting is?
No.
So I went to a teacher and it was like, they're trying to make you angry. Because they think it's funny. So the more you get angry, the funnier it is. And they keep thinking of things to make it funny.
I think
so. I was like, yes. So
I don't think it's rage baiting. I think it's power.
You can call. Well, it's what they call.
Thing.
It's the same thing. Then I just pulled out my phone and just started calling the parent. And then I called the phone and I was like, oh, so and so really needs your attention today. And they were like. And I'll have the phone like that. And they'll be like, she has the phone. Everybody, the mom can hear us. And the mom's like, what? What's that? Put him on the phone. I have them on speaker. They be like, what did they just say? I was like, oh, this was great. My last thing I did, that is my favorite thing that I will start immediately is, Mom, they really need your attention. They need some love today. And I have to talk to the other students and could teach, and I can't give them any love. Would you please give them some love today? And they went, what? You just interrupt me at work? I said they need some love because they keep talking. I have redirected them several times. They're not listening. As you can you hear? Yeah, see, that's them. They're cursing the other person out. They just need some love. Put them, they ain't getting no damn love. I was like, then I called in the middle of class in front of the student and I said, Grandma, she needs some love from you today. Can you really help us, please? And everyone in the class went, she needs a lot of love. Then the girl stopped talking. I said, you're not talking at all. You're doing your work. I do not need you to call. So then she got mad at someone. I was like, oh, you need some more love. No, I don't need any love right now.
You're going to distort these children's perception of love.
But the thing is, though, when I say that, Grandma actually gave them love. Oh, sweetie, you need some. What's going on? And then they'll get to crying. I'm okay. I'm sorry. They do need love, though. And so every time someone would get upset, the students go, do you need some love today? You need some love. Let me give you a hug.
I love that.
So that's going to be my next one, is I'm giving you some love today. So that was my favorite.
So can I tell you what I heard? I heard documentation. I heard engaging parents immediately in the moment.
Oh, okay.
And I heard withholding rewards or reward until expectations are met.
Yeah.
Those are the three things I heard.
Oh.
So you record, I have a little book that I just write, like I'll write the time, the name, and they be like, there she go, writing in her book again.
I've done that
and
too.
it's for the same reason, like I need to remember.
Right.
So I'm like, how many of you notice I'm always taking notes? And there are kids who notice. They'll be like, yeah, she's always writing something down. And they want to see the book. Believe me, someone wants to see that book.
Right.
But I have a notebook all the time where I'm just writing things down. And sometimes I'll look through it because then it lets me know who my frequent flyers are. But those are the three things I heard you do. And that's it right there.
Now,
the thing that I struggle with is the punitive justice. It's like,
well, it's going to be punitive justice.
I don't like that love is conditional.
It's going to be punitive justice when there are systems or contexts that don't get them to self-regulate, like you said. You understand? So in this moment...
But that's not the only way, though.
It's not. You're absolutely right. It's not. But
it's really not the way that we should ever reinforce if we can avoid it.
That's true. But again, you're a new teacher. You've got these kids in front of you. You're trying to teach them.
But you're also practicing punitive justice and not practicing.
But the fact that, to me, what I like is how she phrases it. She's not like, I'm going to call your mama and tell her she need to handle you. She's like, no, maybe you do. Like, years ago, I remember when I went to a PD and the man was like, call them wonderful ones. What I like about what she's doing, I don't see it as punitive justice. I see it as you can't regulate, so I'm going to engage your parents in this moment to help you achieve that self-regulation. Now, to me, that's not where you want them to be. But as you do this more, you'll figure it out. Like, to me, you want them to recognize very early on that your expectation is that they regulate themselves.
Right.
Yes.
Because if they cannot, then as the adult in the space, you have to engage parental help.
Right.
Right. So like there's this one kid this year, he'd never charge his laptop. He'd always want to use my charger. So I was like, Tommy, I'm going to email your mama and tell her you don't know how to charge your laptop. No, Miss Rodney. No, I'm fine. And and then one day he was like, Miss Rodney, look, I haven't come to you in like 3 days. Sorry. That's a P9 calling. Tommy, the student, came in and he said it to me and I thought about it. I was like, he's absolutely right. Like, so in that moment I was starting to, like, I had reached my point. And then sometimes with me, because of how I do classroom behavior, I shouldn't even say discipline, I won't call when I say I will, but I'm like, but when I call, it's going to be good. And there's always a student who will test it and then they'll come back and be like, don't let her call your mama. Like this year I called a student, his mom grew up in Staten Island. I grew up in Brooklyn. How did I know her accent? She had I was like, I grew up in Staten Island. So then it started a whole conversation. And then he tried to go home and preempt her before I called and told her a whole fabricated story, which I told them, I'm like, this is your chance to go home and tell them what you think you need them to hear. Right. Because if I get to them first, it's going to be a problem. Right? Right. But one of the things, so to tell you, I use a model called class meetings. We have class meetings in my class. I lead up to it at the beginning. I build it around this frame called democratic classrooms.
Yeah, see, that's what I do.
Have that. Yeah.
And so let me just jump in there. So you know, this concept of somebody needs to hold the power is still leaning into an above and a below kind of relationship. And I realized that
in K-12
to a great degree, because we are dealing with human beings that don't understand safety, they don't know they're existing in a larger world. They need to be able to get lock and step if we tell them something that could save their life. Like all of that is very important, right? And so it's a tough, and even in higher ed, it's a tough balancing act between I have a responsibility here, but I'm also reinforcing behavior that I would like for you to exhibit beyond this classroom. Yes. So in your case, even if it's the next grade or it's the next level that they're on, for us, it's the next level is the real, they're in life, right? So we want them self-governing. So what I do is I make sure that we are leveling the playing field as much as possible. So it's not a matter of, am I holding the power or are you holding the power until I have to position myself for the role. Right. So when I'm evaluating your work, I'm in a role. When I'm managing the classroom, I'm in a role. And so I have to re-regulate and make sure we're getting back in place. But what ways can we level the playing field? Can we make sure they're bringing agency to their experience?
Tiffany, there are some times that you have to step in the role because they're as democratic as I am. And as much as I agree with everything you just said, there are instances that I have to step into that role and be like, I think you have the wrong one. Then I'm
letting them know that I'm stepping. I communicate that. So I don't just posture them.
Right.
I say, okay, well, you have every right to make that choice, but that also means that I'm going to have to make this choice.
Yeah.
And it's not about me telling you what to do. It's about me having a responsibility here.
Yeah.
And I know that logic can't completely show up.
It shows up, but you have to develop it early on. So most schools where I teach, you have like the first 1 to 2 weeks where they call it a 0 unit.
Right.
Which means you get to do curricular wise whatever you need to do to prepare your students for the year.
Right.
So for me, there's an article that I can send you. I've scaled it down to the 9th grade level. You could scale it down to 6th grade. You can use AI to summarize it. And I try to use that article to build in all the things that I'm going to do for the school year. But the point is, at the end of that week, we have a class meeting. That's always my goal. And a class meeting for me is I change the structure of the room. So if we have whatever setup you have, when they come in class on that day, we have a circular setup. The chairs are in a circle, so we're all facing each other. They have to nominate themselves as class leaders. Yep. You can't be like, Edythe is going to do it. Nope. You have to nominate yourself. You have to tell us why you would make a good class meeting leader. And they run the class meeting you're at the middle school level, so you might have a little bit more latitude, but I started doing them at the end of every unit. What level?
Now, I am
going 9th grade and seniors. Next year I will.
I am going to do a class meeting at every unit. I did do that one, and
so
that was helpful.
Here's what you learn. What I've learned. Let me talk about myself. Use my voice. I've learned, early on, I learned the kids that are courageous. Because it's the courageous ones that will be either that or see themselves as natural born leaders.
Right.
Then there are others who want to see it happen first. Thank you. Right. And then they'll participate. Because they're like, okay, it's a safe thing.
Right.
She's not going to chide me. I also have something I call an issues box. And I'm laughing because I remember one year after they got back their grades for an assignment, kids started getting up and when you get on their nerves because they be putting issues in the box. And they do it with I have an issue. Right. So issues, they can raise issues. If they're not there, we don't discuss their issue. We arrive at consensus by voting. So the biggest thing is allowing them to, getting them to the place where they understand that democracy is participatory. Democracy is not anarchy. Because kids will be like, I thought this was a democratic classroom. Why she don't let us chew gum and stick it under the table? No, that's not. It's not how democracy works. Right. So those first couple of weeks of school is to build up to that class meeting. And it's the way that because I'll put issues in there too. Y'all talk too much. Right. So I found things out for some of my challenging classes, they're friends. And this is the only class where they've been friends since kindergarten. Right. And my class, because of scheduling, is the only class where they see each other. So then we'll do things like one day a week, they'll sit where they want to. Girl, I'll be forgetting. And I go and I look up, sit where you want to today, Miss Rodney. Oh, okay.
And they didn't forget.
They never forget. Yeah. And then you be but you learn who your leaders are. You learn the ones who can control the group, because there's always one of those. And they don't do it, like Tiffany said, because of any kind of power. There's this one girl last year, they just respected her. And she was smart. Right. You understand? So when she said no, I don't know, Tiffany, I feel like that has milk in it.
Oh, it probably does.
Yeah. Thank you for the strawberry stuff.
Okay. You want some?
No. So that has been my go-to. It's the thing that I had a lot of sugar today. There's some things that I will not give up, and that's one of it, because it builds that trust. Right. And there are times I tell them it's because I had parents push back. I never forget the first year I did this girl, oh God, I hated those people. Her mom came and complained, she just wants you to be the teacher and take control. And I was like, okay. Right. So there are some people who come from strict authoritative experiences, and they can't function in a space where you have a choice.
Yeah, that's 100% true.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, when you do start giving them a choice and they're not comfortable exercising that choice in a way that is respectful, that
it can get ugly.
You list it can get very.
So I tell them we're developmentally appropriate. So one of the things we do, they take notes. What does it mean what does democracy mean? What are the definitions? Because this is English class, right? We add in vocabulary words to this, right?
Yes.
Autonomy.
Right.
Meritocracy. Right. These are words that come up in the article. And so by the end of the school year, they know infantilize. I'm not here to infantilize you. You understand? So I have students by the end of the year, they know what autonomy means. And they want that autonomy for the remainder of their time in high school. Right. So when they bring up, I'm like, that's not developmentally appropriate. Why? Because the district told me I had to do this.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
You understand? This is district mandated. So you don't get a choice over this.
I push back on the institution.
Yeah.
I help them understand that they have to make choices within the boundaries of the situation that they're in, because that's a life skill. In the real world, we are governed. We have rules in place. So a democracy doesn't mean that you just get your way.
Exactly.
Right.
It means that you learn how to participate.
A democracy is
cooperate.
participatory.
Right.
You learn how to participate and cooperate within the boundaries that have been set for you.
Yeah.
I want the students to be able to come in the classroom and I like coming into the classroom. And I also want to be able, I don't think I said this part, but I want to see them be able to grow and be a little bit more confident in their abilities. But the main thing is for them to like coming into the classroom.
Okay, so
And
I have a recommendation for you. A foolproof method for achieving that very thing.
Okay.
Tap into their genius.
Yep.
Because every person, it's easier to do it if they're just a few months old or 1 or 2 years old. Because the older they get, the more social programming layers you have to strip off. But aim to tap into their genius. Everybody has it. You've got to speak to it and allow it to come out as their engine. And if you can do that, which you can do that, then they will want to be there. They will see everything like as a possible piece of machinery towards that. Do you all know the dog whisperer?
No.
No. Tamara, no.
No.
And I don't want to know.
No, I know nothing about no dog whisperer.
I don't know nothing about no dogs. Don't
It
want
makes
to know
me think
nothing
about
no
that
dogs.
guy that
no,
used to be
I know
able
who's the
to
dog whisperer
Okay.
on TV.
help.
Yes, I do know
him.
him. Yeah.
That's who I was about to say.
Yeah.
But I
He's-
thought you were talking
he's
about
incredible.
some literary piece.
No,
Yeah,
no,
that guy is
no.
incredible.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
He's gifted.
He is a genius. Okay?
Yes.
So my question that I pose to this artist community is, too often, at least in the United States of America, we have geniuses occupying their mind, their talents, and their time on trivial issues like
Yes.
crazy dogs.
Absolutely.
That man should be governing the world leaders. He should be preventing war. He should, you know what I'm saying? Instead of somebody's pit bull that's spoiled.
Right.
You know?
Basically.
And same with Lauren Lake. There's a
Or
whole
being
bunch of
traumatized.
geniuses in our lifetime. Michael Jackson was a genius.
Oh, yes, Dr.
Yeah, he
Weeks.
was.
Society teaches you, okay, you can only do this.
Yeah.
And then the genius will figure out a way to do that so well.
Yeah.
But then they have to suffer tremendously. I think that's why Michael Jackson
Yes.
would wear the high water pants and the white socks, and to show that disconnect, you know. And okay, so you simply ask things like, okay, who's a genius? John, what are you? And the students, they know each other too. That's the thing, they know. And then don't say nothing. Just sit there and look crazy. And then somebody, well, John, he's a genius because he can draw. Blah blah blah. I'm not a genius, blah blah blah. So just get them to, because in our society we're not allowed to use the word genius. And I learned the hard way in the Nordic countries. Same with them, because they thought I was crazy talking about genius. Oh, there's only Einstein. What was Einstein a genius of? In the movie Oppenheimer, Einstein admitted he was sorry he invented the calculation that could blow up, that create atom bombs. Is that really the only type of genius we're willing to pay homage?
There's a documentary about Sly and the Family Stone. Have any of you seen it?
No, I
I've
haven't
heard
seen
of
that
the
one.
group.
I believe
Yeah.
it. So Questlove, you know
I've heard of
Questlove?
Questlove.
Yeah.
He directed the documentary, and he calls it Black Genius.
Oh, interesting.
And it's
Okay.
a documentary about Sly and the Family Stone and how his genius has impacted music through the millennia, hip hop, R&B tracks. And the question is, what does Black genius look like? So I would take Dr. Weeks' question,
Yeah.
because you are in a predominantly Black district.
Right.
Dr. Weeks has challenged you exponentially. What does Black genius look like? Because you have Black genius in front of you every day.
Yeah.
So you have to get them to see their genius. And
And you might pay attention to it too, because they don't
that's
know to
right.
pay attention to
Yeah,
themselves
right.
in that way. So you have the purview now. See, now that usage of power, I think, is instrumental, because you have the ability to see what they gravitate towards. You know, if you have someone in your class that talks a lot, because I was a talker, you were not getting ready to shut me up. Period. And you know it. And you know I was. So you can just think about it. You know me now.
Right.
So, no. And when I couldn't talk, I was passing notes. But a conversation was happening. Okay? It was happening. I had stuff to talk about.
See, I wasn't a talker.
But you also know that you've seen my genius too.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So you know it's there. Yeah. So you got a genius and a talker. Right. Yeah. So my thing is, in terms of leadership or in terms of figuring out what their genius is just pay attention to what they're good at and figure out where that fits in the classroom. Mm-hmm. Also, pay attention to what you need them to know to be able to do. Mm-hmm. Because if there's somebody in the class that already has that or is picking it up faster, then put them in the position of power. Mm-hmm. You walk in my classroom, you don't know who the teacher is. Right. Because whoever has that power, they're at the board. Mm-hmm. They're talking about it. They're leading the lesson. Mm-hmm. Technology is big in my class, right? I'm always paying attention to who walked in with the laptop in their hand. Mm-hmm. You know, who gets on it and they're immediately going to the Google Drive or the Microsoft OneDrive, and, who's navigating, because they become the leaders in my class. In my class, talking is allowed. Mm-hmm. Now, we are higher ed, you understand? Sure. Right. But talking is allowed because I want them to be able to help each other. Mm-hmm. Now, if I need to get their attention, because sometimes we do, especially if I'm over here talking to one group and I think, you know what, everybody could benefit from this. Hold on, let me get your attention. Mm-hmm. And then I get them to stop talking, and then, we go back. But that's what I do. I need people to know how to use technology. I need people that know how to write well. I need people that, can capture their visions. I need people that are creatives. I need people that aren't afraid to speak in front of a group. I'm just thinking about all the really skills that I need in my class. And so when I see that happening, then that becomes their position of power. Right. And their agency in the space, and their leadership and their genius is now they're focusing on their strengths and not the weakness.
I say even ask them. I do polls at the beginning of the year, and people don't tell you I don't know about higher ed, but in K-12 that's a good way to fill the space and the time with something meaningful. Mm-hmm. So I give them I think I give them 2 surveys, which was so there's a day 1. And there's a day 2. Mm-hmm. And I just ask them questions. Right. My thing is poll them, ask them what you want to ask them at the beginning. What are you good at? What do you like to do? And then
ask them the same questions again in a couple of weeks to see where they are.
Right. And I like what you're saying, because I started with questions, but I found that a lot of, now I don't know if these students be the same, but a lot of the students I had, they really didn't know themselves very well. And they felt extremely, many of them, and when I say many, I'm talking at least 60%, maybe higher, felt vulnerable when I asked them personal questions about themselves.
But they also get excited.
So,
especially when you do it more. Absolutely.
Once you crack that eggshell.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good segue too, because we've been talking a lot about behavior, and I know that that's one of the things I very much have learned about this level, in middle school and high school.
K-12 period.
Is that you gotta be tapped into how to help these human beings to self-regulate. But I do want to just real quick flip it to the content for a minute. So if we could talk about, there's this whole thing about real world learning. Mm. So what are you doing with your content to prepare them for the transfer? So if you're teaching them something new, how are you positioning them to be able to make connections when they leave your classroom? Or is it just about indoctrinating them into this academic curriculum and achieving cognitive development? I mean, is there more?
I think what I want to work on is finding a way to connect the material to situations that students face that they can relate to. One of the things that my coach has given me an idea is using music. So I will connect it with music by saying, for example, understanding inferences and themes and moods,
100%.
Figurative language. I will be able to say to the students, once we understand these literacy elements, we are able to better understand the songs that we hear, the movies that we watch, and things of those.
But
types
is there
of things.
a way that you can embed the understanding of the vocabulary into their ability to interpret?
And that's my
can
goal.
You mix lower level and seemingly higher level Bloom's cognitive development?
And I should be able to do that. I was I wrote 2 lessons that I can do that with, and I don't think it will be that difficult to do. And it's interesting. You really can't use AI. That's something that people have to think about. You're really going to have to think on it on your own, because AI is not very good at critical thinking. So you really have to be able to go, okay, I know what AI is trying to say, and then pull it together in this week's
in the podcast episode with the 2 teachers from John Burroughs. They talk about critical thinking and AI,
right?
And so one of the things that they do is the teacher becomes the authority, so that AI can remain a tool for investigation of information versus the authority. So they're not thinking that what the AI robot is producing is the absolute right answer, and yet they don't yet have the authority as it pertains to the subject matter or whatever it is you're teaching. They don't have the authority yet to know if that information is reliable or not. So you position yourself as the authority, so they check the information they get from AI with you in terms of content.
And I definitely want to.
How do you guys, help your students to make those connections between what you're teaching and how that transfers and shows up in the real world?
I was teaching in Siberia. And when you said, sometimes you say, oh, Lord, thank you for this experience. I remember I got carried away. I was in the office till like 9 or 10 at night. And then I stepped out in the hallway. The hallway was pitch black. I had to find my way to the staircase and everything. And then my heart was beating fast because I knew I had 2 miles to walk. And it had snowed. And it was like 30 below zero.
Oh, my God.
Siberia.
She did say Siberia.
She said Siberia.
Girl.
The Omsk region of Siberia. Yeah,
What were you doing there?
Well, you don't want to know.
Jesus.
So I remember I said, I had to say a prayer. I said, God, please help me. I don't know if I can make it. And then I didn't speak the language yet and all that. I said, it'll be okay, it'll be okay. So I walked down the steps, left the building, and I'm walking down the street. And I was praying the whole time. And it was so cold, I thought my bones were going to freeze.
Oh, no.
But I said, God, you're with me. You got, and I'm so thankful for that situation, because it was like a rainbow came over, like some kind of a thing. And the people there are very spiritual. Like they will have you think Russian people don't believe in God.
That's not true.
But that's why they have monasteries, and that's why they would
yes.
turn their churches into gulags to hurt them. So I made it home. And I'd never been so cold in my life, but it didn't affect me. And I was able to walk 2 miles to my apartment at night and find my way and everything, which was another miracle, because I have no sense of direction. When I was teaching there, I remember I do this when I teach. I said, okay, what do you guys want me to teach? When I was arranging the trip and everything, I was shocked. I thought they were going to have me teach space law and outer space development and it's U.S. history or something. No. They wanted me to teach race and ethnic relations in the U.S. So I was like, okay. I had taught that for like 23 years. Nobody can teach that class better. I swear. Thousands of students. They gave me pure hell. The 16 weeks, and then it'd be so many people and over and over and over. Okay. So I was like, oh, this is easy. I'll just create this. So I'm teaching them about the different racial and ethnic groups in the United States. And I give them an assignment. I break them into groups of 2 or 3 or whatever, and they have to come up with a list of the known stereotypes for each of the 6 ethnic/racial categories in the U.S. Okay. And they don't want to do it. Nobody ever wants to do it. Even the people that don't speak English. They say, I don't want to do it. This doesn't feel right. I say, okay, I know, I understand. Just do it and it'll make sense. I promise you. So okay, whites, okay. Don't like spicy food, can't dance. Everybody knows that. Rich, arrogant, racist, Okay, African Americans, let's see, rap music, gangbangers, can dance, good at sports, and fried chicken, and Kool-Aid, and all this. Okay, so they're going through and they're saying, Professor, just do it. Please just do it. Okay, group number 1, what you got? Okay, give us the Asian Americans. Okay, Chinese food, martial arts, they go through all that. And then, African Americans. Oh, Professor, no, this is so bad. No, it's not what you think. It's the known stereotypes. Okay, everybody got that? This isn't what they're thinking. These are the known stereotypes. Okay. So they go through, and it's so hard. Then the next group says, Professor, we got all the same stuff. I said, just do it anyway. They have to do it. You do it. And then they go through. Maybe there's a couple of new ones that we hadn't heard. And then the third group was like, nope, they covered everything. We had to do it anyway. They had to do it. So you go through it, and then in the end, the whole room is like, we all said the same stuff. And if you don't believe it, then how do you know to put it with each of those groups? Would you all like to see how my students in the U.S. answer for this exercise? They always want to see what the U.S.
American
Yes. Okay. So I take my time, pull it up on the gizmo, because they did a writing assignment in my class up at Northern Arizona University. So I showed them to them, and they're like, it's the same thing that we put. It's like, and then somebody said, Professor, what is Kool-Aid? And why is it associated with the African American? It looks like a wonderful drink.
I like
it's
that.
like, but see me after class. I'll explain it later. Too much going on.
Look, now I want to know.
I know. I think it's like inexpensive.
So I asked them, I said, would you all like to know how is it that people you never met, totally different country, across the ocean, are able to put the same known stereotype? They don't believe in them either. They said all the same stuff. Y'all like, I don't think this way, and I got friends, and yet you all can all spit out the same list. Yeah, how? I said, okay, so today's lecture is going to be on social construction, ideology, and discursive practices, also known as discourses, and how they get into everybody's head. And then you have to make decisions, especially if you don't know a person. Like if you've never seen a black person, let's say.
Kool-Aid would not make it on my list. I'm just telling you now. I'd be like,
that was the first time I ever saw Kool-Aid on there.
I mean, we had Kool-Aid in the house.
St. Louis, they had spaghetti, which is not that way in Virginia. So it's interesting because apparently that's like the big thing that you always have spaghetti here at barbecues or something.
That's true.
Well, but from Virginia, we don't do that.
Yeah, it's regional.
And in North Carolina, it is. Now, you will have a pig. A whole pig. I mean, you eat the whole pig.
Oh, wow.
Okay? Every bit of it. So, but we're also from the South. But, so it's just different things like that. But in the South, remember, which you would know, African Americans, it's more, there are a lot more slavery and lower income. And so they didn't have privilege to the quality part of the pig. So they only could eat like the intestines, the feet, the nose,
I heard that.
The ears. So the things that they throw away. So it's just, but the beauty of the genius of African Americans is they found a way to make it become a delicacy.
What I love about it is that it forces them to begin, when you do these kinds of things like what you did and what you're talking about, it forces them to begin thinking for themselves.
True.
In terms of what their perspective is about these different things. Some students might say, well, my perspective is, I will never have Kool-Aid in my house, Or somebody else might have a perspective of, why are we allowing a drink to define our value
Right.
and our purpose. I mean, that's
True.
what I would say, right? But but the idea with this kind of real world context and this real world connection is that we're thinking about how these things show up in the real world. And so we are preparing them for life beyond the classroom.
I also like that we get an opportunity to share with students how much we are similar. I mean, we say we're similar, but we don't recognize that we are really similar. I completed an assignment, and it's just an accidental assignment, or an accidental observation that came about from the assignment. So I would teach in St. Charles Community College, taught at Missouri Baptist University, and then of course St. Louis Community College in Wildwood, St. Louis Community College in Flo Valley.
Around to 5 different colleges.
Oh man, I'm good at it. I can do it. It's not that hard, but
Is it just scheduling?
Yeah, it's just about.
What
scheduling.
about the passwords and changing your password?
Yeah, well, just keep it similar. It can work. It can work. And the assignment stays the same.
It's going to be like jackpot.
I know.
Well, now what you say, let's confuse the jackpot. There's an app for that.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. So anyway, I'm in Flo Valley, right? And I got Forest Park and St. Charles Community College, Missouri Baptist, Wildwood, right? So I gave an assignment. This time it was Missouri Baptist, St. Charles Community College, and St. Louis Community College in Flo Valley. Alrighty? My Flo Valley class is, I can literally say like 98% black. There was only one white girl in the class. And then at St. Charles Community College, it was 98% white. And it was, I think, maybe 96 because it was 2 black people in this class. Okay. And then you have Missouri Baptist, which falls in the same kind of demographic. And so I have an assignment that's called All About Me. All right. And your job is to share about you, like who you were at when you were young and who you are today and where you want to go tomorrow. Okay. And so one of the things is I like to go deep because, that's who I am. So I share a story about myself that's quite vulnerable, about how I learned. Alrighty. It demonstrates my horrible bigotry when it came to faith stances, and then how I saw people in the past, and then in the middle, and then what I hope to do in the future, right? So now students are like, I said, now you don't have to go that deep. I had people crying and all kinds of stuff. I said, you don't have to go that deep and you don't have to go that vulnerable. You could do something as easy as I wanted to be a superhero, and now I'm going to school, and after this, I don't want to be a superhero. I want to be a teacher, whatever. So anyway, it came time for the speeches, and the students started sharing about their past. And it started in Flo Valley that day, and it was the saddest class ever. I did not realize how many students were abused, how many fought through abuse. They're, getting pregnant early, why they went on drugs, why they sell drugs, how they dealt with their families with drugs, and then why they made a choice to go to school and what they hope to accomplish in the future, what do they want to teach their kids in the future. It was sad and motivating. And I never forget the one white girl who stood up at the end. She said, I wanted to speak first, mainly because I'm very different from y'all, but I wanted to just get it over with. But I also was really excited to share about my family because I love my family, right? And so from that particular point within the assignment, she was like, but I love my family, and your family in here is horrible, and I can't believe that existed. Okay, now I go to St. Charles Community College. Okay,
we can't.
Where was that?
Okay, this was at Flo Valley.
Oh,
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know why my kid's calling me right now. They know I'm not available. But anywho, I'll come back to that. And so then I go to St. Charles Community College, do the same assignment. Same sad stories of abuse. Drugs, physical abuse, having children young, all of that. Same types of stories. And then there was one kid who stood up and said, I don't know what to say, but I had a very good childhood. But the difference between this child was he was white, but he was adopted. And although his adoption, the fact that that it bothered him that his parents didn't want him, he was adopted in this beautiful family that really inspired him to go further. And so from that point, the neat part about it is when he showed the picture, they were black people. And he said it's very uncomfortable sometimes in here because I don't believe white people don't realize that you could be white and adopted by a black family. They always think it's the opposite way around. And the people were like, the students were just amazed. Okay, Missouri Baptist, same type of story.
It used to be against the law. That's why people are shocked. Because just recently, people had to file lawsuits for that. So it's not like people are just crazy.
Oh, okay. It used to be against.
So,
okay, thank you. So as I was finishing, and I finished the assignment, I said I wanted to share one thing with you all that I want y'all to sit with. And I said, how many of y'all been to St. Charles Community College at Fort Valley? And I said, no, I ain't going over there. There's no but racist people over there. Blah, 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 blah. I ain't doing that.
Wait a minute, Fort Valley is the
north.
That's the north.
With the most
St.
black
Louis,
people?
most black people.
Okay.
I ain't going out there. Blah blah blah. And then I said, but do you know, I did this assignment, and they have the exact same story as you. Exact same story.
Yeah, they're already
just over there.
Out in Florida.
Same story. Same abuse. Same problems. Same economical problems. Same. Every problem is the same. Okay? Just like you. Went to St. Charles. Said the same thing to them. How many of y'all would go to St. Louis City? Oh, no. I mean, those people get out, they going to kill. I'm going to get robbed, automatically. I said, do you know they got the exact same problems as you? And a lot of it, I proved it. Didn't put names on any of them. Same speeches. And I said, it's interesting on how much all of us think we're so different. When we all have the exact same thing.
I'll never get I could go 2 months and don't get one call.
But it was just, and that assignment really changed them. And one student said, you know what? I'm going to go to St. Louis City. I was like, yes. We all have the same pain. And we're all trying to deal with that pain. And we're not that different. And you're assuming that and maybe there is some racism, and maybe you will go there and get robbed, but you probably will get robbed here too. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think the instruction is so basic in middle school that you can't integrate opportunities for real world learning?
I do believe I can integrate those opportunities. I'll have to be a little bit more cautious because I don't want the students. See, when you're older, the
maturity level,
you're able to take care of yourself. At the end, I'm able to say, go see the counselor. So, I put that on the assignment.
Well, it doesn't have to necessarily be a trauma situation.
This is the thing. I didn't ask them to share their trauma. They shared their trauma because they felt comfortable with me.
Well, we don't want to automatically assume that real world learning is associated with something bad or something personal. I mean, real world learning could be your ability to be in an environment where you don't know anybody. It could be you're in a social environment somewhere you don't really know anybody. How do you assimilate, or how do you integrate, or how do you communicate, or what do you do to position yourself in that space?
And that's true.
That's
but
just
now
real
in middle
learning.
School, that is real world.
How we make
you have to do it
choices.
A little. In my school, you have to do it a little bit different
when
because they won't go in a space they don't know.
A restaurant, and we want to sit down with a menu. Sure. How do we know how do we have the self-confidence to ask questions when we don't know? I'm thinking about like age appropriate real world situations that show up.
Well, like I definitely can do that. I just gotta be a little more strategic.
It's not about whether you can do it. Do you see? Is any of that already happening? Is it happening in your work?
I think as I was listening to both Dr. Weeks,
and I'm going to share with you how this is another plug for the Brewers episode, because those 7th graders are already considering, if I have $100,000 a year salary, and I am disgruntled with the way that certain people in my community are being treated, am I willing to pay a higher tax amount to improve a situation for a group of other people that will ultimately improve my own quality of life, because maybe I'm helping to level the playing field? But they're already making decisions and interpretations like that. That's real world learning.
It is.
In 7th grade.
And it is. You also have to, I think communities are a little different though. Where some of the kids can't even get out that side of that box. So
but
usually
maybe even
easier.
asking them, what community do you live in? I mean, if we're talking about community, but that's just an example.
Yeah, I can get it there. I just got to do it slow. That's all I'm saying.
So it's not already showing up for you, is what you're saying.
It is showing up, but I can't do every. I got to keep it
I think
like very.
I think one of the things. I think one of the
how it's showing up. Just how is it showing up?
I think one of the things is, the more, we started off the conversation by talking about classroom management and behavior.
Correct.
And I think one of the things I learned as a K-12 educator is, the better I became at classroom management, the more curriculum
that's
superseded.
That's why
showed up, right? And then I didn't have to then think about, how do I manage the behavior? It became, how do I make the learning more meaningful?
Right.
And by making the learning more meaningful, it was always about bringing in real life. I don't know that I qualified it as real life learning, but real life examples, things that could then in the classroom transfer to their real lives. What I think about when I hear you say real life learning is also the problematizing of what we experience as adults, right? So as adults, we're constantly faced with problems that we then have to solve. So even as I was listening to you a while ago, I was like, okay, the problematizing of life and getting them to a place where they can meaningfully think of a solution. But I can tell you that in a K-12 context, I don't know about higher ed, but in a K-12 context, I think it applies to higher ed too, because of who we have sitting at this table. I think when you're in a situation, a new situation, you don't get to that level of curricular design and thinking until about, I would say, year 5. Me personally. Because in K-12...
So what are we saying right now?
So what we're saying is, as a new teacher,
Yeah.
as a new K-12 teacher, she's not new to education, but she's new to that context. She's working through the behavior piece. So to ask her how real life learning shows up in her curriculum, you got to give her a couple of years to get there. Asking her is engaging her, because I'm, and she's taking notes.
Yeah.
So I know that next year, that's going to show up in her curricular design. To answer for myself, I think for me, I wasn't yet at the place of the problematizing that you described in the last example of 7th graders. But I was getting there because the district that I was with had been charged with creating courses in this specific frame that would help students get to that problematizing, specifically with the social studies and ELA curriculum. I would argue that they had already done it outside of those two focus areas, because they had an experiential learning division, which is where students could come to them and be like, I want to learn about rocket, space law. And they would walk the student through what was the problem, what were they trying to solve, and then put them in context with people like Dr. Weeks. That was their sole aim and purpose in this division. Then they came up with a business side of that, where students could design businesses. And I know because I bought stickers from the sticker group. There was always a sticker group. Then when Black kids started entering the program, there was always a clothes group. And there was always a hair group. I have a hoodie, I have stickers, and one of the students came and did my daughter's hair. So that's how they tried to do it. I think for me, what I tried to do was look for real life examples of curriculum. So for example, I taught African American Lit, and I showed the documentary 13. For me, it was always by way of film, music, anything that was happening in the news. So we went through this whole conversation about 13th. We talked about the clause in the 13th Amendment that allowed for the criminalization of Black and brown people in America's criminal justice system. And from that unit of instruction, we looked at Fruitvale Station, Oscar Grant in California. We looked at articles about enslaved peoples who jumped from ships and that the sharks traveled. So I always tried in my curricular approach to diversify the content so it wasn't simply the book with the words on the page. It was a film, it was music, it was poetry, it was newspaper articles, present and past. What students, and I learned from that experience, I'm talking about myself, what they taught me was that our American education system does not focus on Reconstruction well enough. That was the period in social studies that was glossed over. And that can't ever be glossed over when you study Black history in America, because Reconstruction is very important to Black people in America, right? You had 400,000 people moving from the status of enslaved to free. You're talking about literacy. You're talking about home ownership. You're talking about, entrepreneurship. So then students and I could see, students could see, and I could see how we went from Reconstruction to Jim Crow. Because when you have 400 people who go from enslaved to free, and they're adding all of these things to the society, any person who has hatred in their heart for those people are going to say, but if we don't quash this, in years they're going to supersede us. So we have to come up with another said system to hold them back. Oh, okay. So for me, the inclusion of different types of genres, of content, the material was helpful to my...
I just, want everybody to just say who you are, so that people know.
Let me go last.
And say what you teach, I guess. What else might we want to say in our intros?
Oh, snap. I want to go last. Okay, my name is Tamara Rodney. I am...
What brought you to Webster?
My husband brought me to Webster. Dr. Basir Rodney came here after he finished his doctorate. We were living in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where I started my teaching career. And we had our first child, Nuria. Now we have 3. What brought us to Webster was him, but how I got my foot in the door as an adjunct at Webster is I had started my master's degree program at Webster. I have an MA in TESOL TEFL. And my professor, who is Carolyn Traptova, when I finished my master's, she turned around and asked me to teach in the TESOL program at Webster University. So that's how I became an adjunct at Webster. That's what got me the many years of service that I had at Webster. So she, as my teacher, recognized something in me as a student, so much so that when I finished, she offered me the opportunity to adjunct. That's how I ended up at Webster. And then a couple years ago, because, like everything at the collegiate level, things were just drying up. There weren't as many international students coming to Webster anymore. But even when I returned to K-12, because I did like you, I was adjuncting between St. Louis Community College, Forest Park, and Webster. So I would drive to Forest Park, drive to Webster, but then I made the switch back to K-12. And when I did, I took a year off, and she asked me to come back and teach again. and I would teach in the evening. That was my caveat. Like, I'll do it, but just make it an evening class. So I did that for a couple of years. And then Basir, my husband, asked me to teach this class in Tashkent because he was like, I'm looking for a good teacher and I'm married to one. So come on and teach this class. So then I started that in 2022. So since 2022, I've taught K-12 during the day. Even before that, actually, because Homegirl called me back. So for a number of years, I would teach K-12 during the day. When I was at Webster, I'd walk across the street to the university and teach an adult class.
I remember that.
Yeah. So I always had a foot in the adult education space. So it's, like I said, my oldest daughter, she was born in 2002. I believe I became an educator in October 2003.
I thought you were going to say my oldest daughter was born at Webster.
And Tamara is actually, she's done a podcast episode labeled ELA and Real World Learning. So it'll be interesting. And it's dropping all kind of gems that she sat up there and fought me all night. Talking about she don't know about
because I got my girl right here.
Learning. And got a whole episode where she's talking about English language arts and real world learning.
And who are you?
Now, I am.
My name is.
I am Edythe Weeks.
Channeling your inner Eddie Murphy.
So I am a professor. That was my goal when I was 4 years old. I always wanted to be a professor, international scholar, a writer, a thinker, and I wanted to change the world because I grew up in the 1960s. And it was a time of promised change. So my research looks at the grand promises. Humanity, oh Lord have mercy, they make these grand promises. World peace, justice, global equality, economic prosperity, rule of law, and environmental sustainability. You know, all these wonderful promises. And they're on the books, the laws. Okay, some people got killed for these laws, and they're there in the dusty aisles of so many law libraries, and nobody really reads them or cares. And we don't have the things that are promised to us, nor do we have the things promised in the U.S. Constitution, by the way. So I'm looking at why that is. How have these dreams been co-opted time and time again so that they're never actually realized? You know, after college, I went to law school. Why did I go to law school if I didn't want to be an attorney? Well, I always wanted to be a doctor, a professor, a scholar. I wanted to know how to learn and how to learn how to know. And people said, oh, that's law school. That's what you want. I did get my doctorate in law. I got my doctorate in politics and international affairs. I teach all kinds of stuff. I teach thesis students and polar law. I do all kinds of stuff. But I have to laugh because my whole life I've constantly been pulled over and asked these race questions. I got more examples probably than anybody I know, you know. And so I mixed, that gave me a niche area in outer space development and space law. The whole having to think about race and ethnicity. And then I realized these things had not yet been talked about for outer space. Because at the time I entered the discourses, they were only talking basically engineering, technical stuff, legalese. They weren't talking about how the space treaty promises global equality, global prosperity, and stuff like that. So in my walk and trying to become an expert on space law, I did have numerous encounters with some of the framers of the body of space law, the 5 space treaties. And when they got together and had meetings from 1957 to 1967, they did it with the hope to trigger a better world. And I got to listen into those conversations and feel those feelings. And I know what to look for. Now people are trying to dismantle the very beautiful art that's factored into those treaties. They're saying, oh, it's no longer socialist, and oh, it's not for the free market, and rich people can't get rich if we can't own parts of it. So you got these discourses attempting to dismantle it. So I published a lot of articles the last few years. I can't even remember how many. The most recent one was in this article published through the Beijing Institute of Technology called Space. I had a co-author on it. Talked about actually 2 articles with this co-author, and published them last year, and then 3 papers in the yearbook on polar law. And then I was invited to give 3 presentations in Oslo, because my vision is to win the Nobel Peace Prize.
Amen.
Oh, wow.
So these are the kinds of things that I'm discussing.
Ooh.
Okay.
Wow.
And so it links to international relations. I teach
talk about voice.
Relations.
Yes.
Talk about agency.
Oh yeah. Oh, is that your
Hello.
Yeah.
Anytime you creating treaties that a whole expansive group of people that, you know, I mean, that's voice showing up in an extremely real world way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They hate to see me coming now.
Missy,
All right.
you gonna drive us home?
Yes, Missy. Only my close friends can call me Missy.
I guess your mom probably told me.
Yeah. My family says Missy. Usually, if you call me Missy, that means you know me from Virginia. So, and North Carolina and Maryland. But I am Dr. Melissa Joy Benton. Most of my students call me Dr. Joy. And I was given that name by my students. So
When did you receive your doctorate?
yes, I started off in optics. I wanted to be. I was an optician.
Wow.
I wanted to be an optometrist, and I let fear change me. So don't let fear change you.
Wow.
That's what I could say. But that world came so easy for me. And I decided to go in worlds that weren't so easy for me. Public speaking became a little natural, so I have my bachelor's in speech communications. And then I went further and received a master's in communication management. That's when I started like, okay, I can tackle some fear. Writing was not my forte. I was better at math and science. I always tell people my first favorite writing assignment. My first writing assignment that I put in college, it was a 5-page paper, and it was 1 paragraph. It was good. I received an F. So
You take my class.
But that's okay. That's where it started, and I'm not a quitter. So I went into the writing center, and I spent every day in the writing center, like 4 days a week, learning how to write. So this is why I like to teach English language arts. I teach classes that I wasn't so good at. So that's just what I do. So I started teaching in college first, teaching communication classes, so mass communications and
Running a debate team.
And running a debate team, speech and debate. I taught in college after receiving the master's program, master's degree.
And where did you go to graduate school?
I went Webster. My optic degree is an associate's degree, but it's like it's really a bachelor's degree because it's quite a bit of classes. But anyway, I received that one at J. Sargent Reynolds Community College in Virginia. And then my speech communications was at Webster, the bachelor's, and then the master's was at also Webster's as well. And so with the master's, I was teaching the communications classes, speech communications, mass communication, public speaking, persuasion, and speech and debate. So then I started to expand to teaching communication and education. And then I went to communication and business. So many of my courses are all about communications. Then I decided to return to school and obtain a doctorate. And I have a doctorate in education practices with the emphasis of STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and math. My goal was, and I really like what Dr. Weeks said, so I'm gonna quote her now. My goals is I wanted to learn how to learn. Mm-hmm. So I went into education practices to help people with learning. I also wanted young people within K through 12 to understand that they could obtain a job in STEM. I had so many students that would say they weren't good in science, they weren't good at math. My own children did, and they didn't see their selves in that field. Not too many African Americans were in the field. My kids are African American and white, but so they definitely didn't see too many mixed race students, and they definitely didn't see women as much. So my goal was to find a way to market STEM education to underprivileged communities, as we could say, or underserved communities. Excuse me for that. So I worked with nonverbal communication, so my research is mainly in nonverbal communication. So I ended up working with someone who's a mathematician, and we wanted to examine how we can help strengthen math with underserved communities, because there are so many students who have low self-efficacy when it comes to math classes. And so my argument was to work more on nonverbal communication. Is what we are not saying that's discouraging students, especially in underserved communities, or to go into STEM. So, by looking at people funny, and, I don't know,
like,
things like that.
You want to be in STEM.
Right, yes. So I examined how you could change your nonverbals, okay? And so we went into, cognitive behavior therapy, okay? And nonverbal communication and mathematics, okay? I taught at Rankin Technical Schools, St. Louis Community College Wildwood, St. Louis Community College Forest Park, St. Louis Community College Flow Valley, and I taught at Webster, of course. That's my alma mater. I love teaching there. I still teach there. St. Charles Community College, Missouri Baptist University, and UMSL. So I've been, and Lindenwood,
Missouri, St. Louis.
Yeah, the University of Missouri, St. Louis. You're right. So, and Lindenwood. So I've been all over. I thought I can give back and go into K through 12, which is similar to my work in my dissertation. But the funny part is I did not teach math or science. So even though I have to admit on that teaching test, those are the ones that I did the best at, those tests.
So you're tapping more into the communication side of...
Right. I like English language arts, and I started wanting to do elementary. That's where I was at. But research says that if you can motivate a child by the time they get to 12 years old, then they will enjoy education, or they will stay with education. So that's like your cutoff. After that, it's hard for people to learn something new. So I would go teach all the way up to 6th grade. So now I'm teaching in 6th grade. I chose English language arts, though, because I felt that I can be the most serve. I can serve the most students, because I started not being able to write very well. So I thought that I'll be able to, give that back to students and help them write well. And even though my first year, I've had some success in helping students write better. So this year is all about classroom management and having a safe space for students to learn, and not having a teacher who could get a little too upset in the classroom.
Rage baiting. Don't be rage baiting.
I know,
I tell students, I do not yell at you. So you are not my child.
Right. Well,
and I don't yell at. But then they say I yell at them. I'm like, have you ever heard me? Y'all don't want to hear me yell.
Well, see, the thing is, I was told to teach this. To treat the students as I would treat my own children. So she was like, if you're going to discipline your kids, you're going to tell them they can't do this, this, and that. And I went, well, I don't yell like that at my kids, and I don't discipline that harshly. I'm going to figure out a way to help them propel, to get better,
to empower them.
Yes, and to empower them, and
Which
they
requires
know.
Agency.
Right. But my kids know that
I don't agree with you. We agree there. It's that humanity piece that
right. They're not going to curse me out. They're not going to yell at me. They know they don't do that to their mom.
Yeah.
I don't disrespect you. You don't disrespect me. And I teach them what disrespect is, and we have that camaraderie, and they know how to communicate with the teacher. My kids never yelled at a teacher
before.
So
between camaraderie and commodity.
Yeah, I did. Thank you. Camaraderie. Yeah, I like that.
So was this a good time, you guys? Was this a good time?
But anyway,
absolutely, this was a good time.
It was such a good
Well,
time.
Dr. Weeks said I was looking at my phone. I was posting something to Instagram, and I was like, "Do you have an Instagram page for you?"
No, I only say that because this is something we used to do at Webster all the time.
They
It was
should run
nothing.
Yeah.
For us to walk into the
Not banned,
FDC and
they keep
you
saying,
would come
it's
into my
suspicious
office and we
attempts to
strategize
try
at
to
the
get-
board.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Dr. Weeks would come in and assume her position at the computer.
You
know.
know, right?
That
Yes.
chair don't messed up my hip. I'm convinced. Because it messed up everybody else's hip.
You blaming the chair? Oh snap!
Because I can't
We
even
just had
sit in
such
the chair.
wonderful memories. Like
Yeah,
I
this
wish
was
we
good.
could
This was
have
good.
I wish one of us could have a school.
Yes,
We all could work in the school.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's time. Do it. Hurry up.
I know.
Girl, don't
Come on, Dr.
test
Smith.
me now.
Hurry up.
Don't test us.
Yes,
Hurry up.
I learned so much
talk
from
about
all
doing
of
the
you.
work. I do the work.
I definitely appreciate it.
Dr. Smith, do it.
But this was so good.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that was another Educate Us podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
She's gonna
Thank you for listening to Educate Us. Educate Us is a podcast and learning collective of TMS Visionary Group. All podcast content is protected by copyright. Copyright 2026 TMS Visionary Group, all rights reserved. New episodes are released every Monday. Thank you for joining the conversation.